Their name for me was from a good friend, Mildred and Ruth, and Mildred's nickname was Becky. My dad was a railroad fireman, the guy who shoveled coal on the Chicago Northwestern Railroad. We used 3 passes of travel frequently to Judson, Minnesota, where my mother's family, the Andersons, lived on a farm. The farm of Alfred and Sophia Anderson was a refuge during the Great Depression. Sorry, I'm very nervous. For their children and their grandchildren, providing a home for much produce and for all of our needs. During those summers, my brother Alan and the more cousins and I spent days idyllically playing in the woods and farm buildings. A month after the war ended, I was off at St. Olaf College as a chemistry and biology major. The Matskys' 1934 Plymouth carried my friends and me to and from Wasika for holidays. On Christmas break in 1947, I brought home a Norwegian student I met at St. Olaf, my husband-to-be, Harry Monsen. The year following the graduation from St. Olaf, I taught high school science in Renville, Minnesota, and then September 2nd, 1950, Harry and I married. In the following years, while he finished his PhD, I worked the seed lab of Northrop King in Minneapolis. Harry and I made our first trip to Norway and Sweden in 1956 on Icelandic Airlines. It was a long flight, and we were met in Oslo by the Munsens and Jacobson families. Harry had not seen his parents in 10 years. He had actually forgotten some Norwegian, but we still figured out how to speak to them. Then it was time for children and being a stay-at-home mom. Ron was born in 1957, and 13 months later, Margaret joined the family. We lived in a small apartment in Berwyn, Illinois, until moving to a brand new house in Westchester, Illinois in 1960. As the kids grew older, I began substitute teaching, and we went off to college. And when they went off to college in 1976, I did research at the pharmacological department of the University of Illinois. I became active in the Grace Lutheran Church and for the St. Olaf Alumni Network. In 2010, I pulled up stakes in Illinois and moved to Becketwood. An important reason for moving to Minnesota was because of 2 wonderful family members, my brother Alan and his wife Ann Billette. They helped me choose a place to live, and they helped me get a great start on a new life. It filled me with love and adventure. I got to see the world with close friends and family, meet amazing new people, and continue to keep my mind sharp well into my later years. I am profoundly grateful for my life. And so that's the shortened version. But I just wanted to say that my grandmother loved this place here, loved it at Becketwood. She had many close friends, and many of you knew her for being in charge of the excursion committee. She used to love visits. She used to love visits from my aunt in Arizona, as well as meeting her pilot son, my dad, at the St. Paul airport for lunch when he flew up in my parents' Cessna. She even came to visit our family in Saudi Arabia for Christmas one year, and then she even came to DC to visit me when I was there. My grandma was a strong woman. She'll be sorely missed, but I have to say, I think she won the game of life. Living to 95, surrounded by family and friends, after traveling the world with a wealth of happy memories, I hope we all are as lucky. I love you, Grandma. I love you, Grandma. Rest in peace.
Mickey was something that was, right, is this right? Closer? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Mickey was something of a sister that I never had. I felt lucky to spend time with her during her final days. I felt honored that I helped care for her. I enjoyed her family, and in particular, the family hound dog. She liked to show me an amaryllis bulb, which had a tiny red dot on it. I could hardly see it. Every day, she insisted it was getting bigger. And very, very slowly, a little stem appeared, and then a leaf. And last I saw it, it had a bulb. Now, she had another amaryllis plant, which bloomed twice in the same season. I had never known that to happen. But that was like Mickey, she was full of life. When her daughter, Margaret, suggested I read a poem for today, I thought it would be easy. I had majored in poetry and had shelves of poems and more in my head. But I couldn't find anything that spoke to sisterhood in later years. Love poems, yes, but not sister poems. They're probably out there, but I didn't find them. So I searched through my favorite books of poetry to see what would bring back Mickey. Not death poems, please. I needed life poems. I found it in the poetry of Gerard Manley Hopkins. His poems overflow with life. For him, divinity is found in life. I give you one of them. No, but you want to see that the amaryllis is right up here. I'm supposed to point that to you. God's grandeur. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Generations have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge, and shares man's smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod. But for all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down things. And though the last lights off the black west went, oh, morning at the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods, with warm breast and with bright wings.
Very nice. Casey, I think I'm up.
Oh,
Think
you're
you
up?
can get- Yeah.
You got a queue up?
No.
You need to scooch back there.
Give me just a second, my AV boys at work back there. I'll get started anyway. We're going to have a little bit of a video show here. I think a lot of you know that my mom was a bit of an adventurer. Ever since I was in college, I got my private pilot's license. And she used to go flying with me all the time, up until just recently. Here we are in Chicago. But I have to tell you a story that happened recently. I came home, this was about, well, it was about 10 years ago, I guess it was. She was 81 years old. I came back on vacation from Saudi Arabia and came up from downstairs where Deb and I used to sleep down there. And my mom goes, "It's a beautiful day today. Let's go skydiving." Skydiving, you're 81 years old. Are you kidding? Well, I hadn't realized that she had just gone skydiving. You can just let it run now. With my sister 2 weeks before that. And here you can see it.
Hey, how are we doing here today?
All right, we're going to have a great jump today.
We're going jumping.
Oh, how about my daughter too? She could just be.
Whose crazy idea was this?
It was my idea.
It's your idea. You trying to get rid of your daughter or something?
No. called me up the other day and said, guess what, we're going skydiving. So,
Well, it's some
That's
good
my
stuff.
fun.
You're gonna love it.
yeah, it's gonna be great.
First time's the best time. You nervous? You excited?
I'm excited.
You're excited?
Not really nervous, just excited.
You haven't met your instructor then. Just kidding. He's gonna take care of you. Don't worry about
I'm
that.
sure.
All you have to do
And
is
I've
just
got a good
smile and have fun.
photographer.
Oh yes.
Oh, we're gonna look beautiful.
You're gonna look beautiful. Just remember to smile for me.
All right.
Well, is there anything you want to tell the folks at home watching us?
I'm gonna say, see me when this is over and see if I'm still smiling.
Oh, you will be. Don't worry. All right. Well, I'll have some fun, and I'll see you in there.
All right.
How did you like that?
Just awesome. Every
Good stuff, isn't it? Let me help you up.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Well,
All right, Mickey. Good job. Well, thank
good
you. Ron.
job.
Let's turn around. Let's get a
Big smile, big thumbs up. One more crazy skydiver. Welcome to the sky.
So now it's my turn, right? So we head out to the field and we sign up and we're in the waiting line and then the phone rings and it's Ryan. Where's Ryan? And Ryan goes, I've got a problem. Ryan, what kind of problem you got? I broke my foot. Oh, Ryan, how did you do that? I fell off a roof. I said, Ryan, you've got to be more conscious of risk assessment. And I can't talk to you right now because your grandma and me are about to go skydiving. So here's the result.
Ron, what's up, man?
Oh, not much.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Great, and tell me, what are you doing? What is this floating harness? What's planned?
What's planned? Well, I have to keep up with my mother over here.
Yeah.
But this is her second jump.
All right. See you up there, right?
All right, we'll
How
see you
great
up there.
skydive. Yeah, second jump. How great skydive. How you feeling?
We're gonna have a good time this afternoon, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. See you up there, right? Yeah. Come on, okay. I'll see you out there. Hey,
Awesome.
nice job.
That was awesome.
How you like that, sir?
So anyway, I'm going to finish off with a little story about my mom just recently. A couple of years ago, I went and I picked her up from St. Paul Airport in the Cessna and to bring her back to Naperville. And on the way back to Naperville, the weather got deteriorated and we started picking up ice on the windshield and ice on the wings. And my mom turns to me and she goes, I want to just tell you that I'm not even slightly worried. And I said to her, well, that makes one of us. So, thank you.
Okay, I'm here to talk about my sister. You're right here? All right. Mildred Ruth Mansky Monsen. You know, you gotta remember Ruth. I think it was Ruth Michaels, who was her roommate or something in her college, so she got her name. keep dripping here. We're dripping on the mic. Anyway, we were both born in the Depression area, so we knew what money was all about, I think. And after that, the war came along and it did some more damage to our egos. But I wanted to tell you a story about Mickey. When I was born, I was, 4 years younger than she was. And so when I was born, she was older, the older sister, and the older girls always liked the baby little kids. And she took over and started babying me all the time. One of the things she took me to the movies. And it was a lot of money those days to go to the movies. It was 5 cents. And Mom gave me a dime. And I went up there and I couldn't figure out how I was going to go to a movie with a dime because it was so much smaller than a nickel. So I bought the ticket for myself, and guy gave me a nickel back. And I couldn't understand how I got money back from buying a ticket. So Mickey took it on herself, and we had lectures and we had studies on money and dollars and cents, plus lectures on A's, B's, and C's, you know, as a high school girl type thing. But I always got training from her for different things. She was the first one in the family that got a bicycle, and of course she had to teach me how to ride a bicycle. And we then had to get Ellen a bicycle. I was trying to, my mind is swooshing around here. I gotta straighten myself up. I'm okay. I fell once, I fell too many times. I guess they're worried. We went on a Mickey, Harry, and I went on a canoe trip in northern, the Boundary Waters canoe trip. And I was getting big enough at the time, so I did a lot of the canoe carrying. And it's not a fun thing when you're going on a long portage. Anyway, we came back, and I was old enough to have peach fuzz all over my face, you know, the age, and dirt and grime. And my sister came up to me with a little box, and she says, "Here's a present for you." And I opened it up, and it was a Gillette razor. And she says, "Be a man." And a little after that period, I got a notice from the government that they wanted me to do some work for them. So I was standing in the corner of a town in Wauseka, and the bus came up for pick me up to go to the army. And I thought, yeah, Mick, no, I mean, I'm a man. You know what I mean? So anyway, I really, really loved the little woman. And so, thanks, Mickey.
And the final is the daughter, Margaret.
Hi, I'm Margaret, daughter of Mickey. Thank you for being here. Those of you who knew my mother, Mickey, will recall how passionate she was about science, nature, and history. She had that wonderful, no-nonsense, unemotional way of approaching most situations, combined with a quirky sense of humor that made for a very special personality. I have a few stories about her that I'd love to share today. For much of her career, sometimes horrifying experience. Like visiting Dr. Frankenstein's lab. She would greet us visitors at the lab entrance while surrounded by a friendly herd of lab cats. And those cats had large electrodes sticking out of their cute furry little heads. The lab rats had similar contraptions in their heads. I know how much my mother loved cats and rats. She's had many pet cats over the years, and years ago she even had a pet rat that she loved very much. I don't know how she did it, but she had an impressive mindset for dealing with certain aspects of scientific research. She was truly in her element in a research lab. Also, her work with the electron microscope yielded valuable information to medical research. Many people yearn to be published someday. Some people write fiction, some people write articles for newsletters, some people write poetry. My mother is herself published. The title of her defining work is Ultrastructural Evidence that Substance P neurons form synapses with noradrenergic neurons in the A7 catecholamine cell group that modulate nociception. A real page turner. My mother had a great love of history. She loved to travel and learn about every area she toured. Just a few years ago, both of us were on a tour of some famous Indian ruins in Arizona, and we listened to the local tour guide describe the history of the cowboys and Indians in the area. Our experienced tour guide cited many facts about the local history. My mother listened as long as she could. And she finally felt she needed to speak up and challenge the tour guide on some of his facts. No. There were 10 mules in that mule train, not 8. Something like that. So I Googled these things later, and amazingly, she was right. My mother always looked younger than her years. She always remained quite attractive, and she traveled quite a bit after her husband, my dad, died. Years ago, she took a trip to California to visit me. We were both visiting a recording session attended by several Hollywood actors. In the room was the venerable actor Ed Asner, famous from the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which,
Yes.
I think that fictionally, it's based here in Minneapolis. We could see that he was seated at a microphone in a recording booth, and he was busy recording some voiceover work. But he took one look at my mother, immediately stood up from the mic, marched across the room toward my mother with a huge smile on his face and a gleam in his eye. He asked her, "May I buy you a cup of coffee?" And my mother, well, you all know my mother, simply replied, "Coffee? I already had my coffee today." Ed's big smile faded to a big frown. His shoulders slumped, his head went down, and he slinked back to his microphone, both sad and perhaps a bit frightened. For my last story, I'll tell you about her trip to New York. She was with the Rhodes Scholar tour group, studying the history of Harlem. They visited the famous Apollo Theater, and after learning the history of the theater, her group was asked if anyone would like to go up on stage and give a little performance of some sort. Nobody moved. So my mother decided to give stand-up comedy a try. She marched straight up on stage and delivered several Ole and Lena jokes. She was a comic success. And so she joined the ranks of great entertainers at the Apollo Theater, such as Ella Fitzgerald, Sammy Davis Jr. Well, anyway, so in the spirit of Mickey grabbing the mic, I would like to turn it over to any of you in the audience to perhaps share a story about Mickey and your experiences with Mickey, and that's after the hymn, right? So I hope to hear some more stories, because these are all pretty funny. Thank you.
Watch the slideshow again.
In the spirit of my aunt, I'll go first. So I'm Mickey's niece. My name's Annette. I live here in the Twin Cities. And Mickey was just wonderful. And having her here and being able to get close to her was so much fun. It was so fun to get to know her. But I'm going to share with you, I accompanied her on quite a few of her oncology visits. And the last one, October 13th, I believe was the date, the oncologist came into the room and he said, you know what, the numbers don't look good, Mickey. This isn't what we were hoping for today. And we kind of sat there numb because we didn't know what to think. And he said, you know, do you have your affairs in order? And, you know, we talked about options, what she wants to do, and she said, no, I'm ready. It's fine. So I didn't know how to respond, right? We went back to the car, and I thought, well, I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to let this happen, let her just kind of process through and think things through, and I'll respond if she asks me questions. So we're driving back to Becketwood. She finally looks at me and she goes, you know, I have been paying for long-term care insurance forever. I've never been able to use it. She just burst out laughing, and I think that is quintessential Mickey. And I don't know if I should share this, but we had to pick up a prescription at the Walgreens. And so we got there, and there's going to be a wait. She said, you know what? Let's run over to that liquor store. I want to get some beer. And I was like, I love that about Mickey, right? Like, if your days are numbered, let's make sure we do this right. So I'm gonna miss her. She was wonderful. And I'm now gonna pass the mic to
Hi there, my name's Fiona, and I had the great fortune of being able to work with Mickey as her trainer for the last 5 years, which was really a joy. I worked with her here at Becketwood, and then when the pandemic hit, we started working online, and it actually worked out really great. And I got to tell you, I don't know how Mickey Monsen do it. Well, I do know how Mickey did it because of her nature, but she was better with that technology than a lot of 50-year-olds I know. So kudos to her for that. I was going to tell a beer story about Mickey as well because she loved her beer. And she'd tell me these stories about, well, we're doing an excursion to breweries. Excellent, right? These are the things that she loved to do. And I can't remember the exact details, but Margaret told me, again, after she got the diagnosis and the doctor said, get your affairs in order. One of the things Mickey said to her daughter was, well, let's make sure we have enough beer in the house. So I would come over here and meet her, and whenever somebody here at Becketwood would find out that I worked with Mickey, they'd always say to me, wow, she's pretty strong, isn't she? And I would say, yes, yes, she is. And outside of Becketwood, when I would talk with other people about my clientele, people would say, well, what sort of clients do you work with? And I'd tell them, and I'd say, well, my oldest client is 90, and then 91, and then 92, and 93. It was always Mickey. And they'd say, wow, how is that? And I'd say, it's fantastic, because, again, she's stronger than many 50-year-olds that I know. It was a great pleasure for me to work with her. And I just want to say particularly, well, to all of her family, and particularly to Ron and Margaret, I never saw her more happy than when you guys were coming up to visit her. It was her great joy. And you know that twinkle in her eye and that smile on her face to say, Margaret's coming up, Ron's coming up. It was the best thing for her.
Mickey was the best ping pong player that Becketwood has ever seen.
Anybody else? By the way, you see me walking around holding this. We have relatives in Norway that really want to see this. Her sister-in-law, we said, well, put a little bit of a video up on this remembrance. Anybody else? Here we go.
Hi, I'm Cliff Anderson. Mickey's mother and my father were brother and sister and brother, whichever way you want to put it. And yet, I really didn't know Mickey at all for most of my life, because she was born 21 years before me. And so when we get to family reunions, I'd be playing with the kids and she would already have kids. And so she'd be with the adults and I would be down, running around outside in the farm area. And so that's kind of the way life went for quite a long time. And then what got us back together, or where, was Singapore. Because my wife Barbara and I were living in Singapore at the time, and Mickey was on one of her adventures around the world with Betty, and they knew that we were living there and asked if they could come and spend a little bit of time on their trip around. And sure enough, she showed up, and we just had a wonderful time, and it was really the first time that we really got to know her, and we just fell in love with her. And so we stayed in touch since then. And then, of course, she moved from Chicago to Becketwood here in Minneapolis, and we really got to spend time with her, and it was really fantastic. And the first time that we first got together after she moved here, she started grilling me about politics of Minnesota. Who is your senator? What district are you in? Who's your councilor? I'm from Minnesota. I said, I know you're from Chicago because you know more about your politics down there than any other city in the world. So I had to bone up on all of this, who is my senator locally for the state and so forth, waiting for the next time we got back together. And she never asked me another question about politics. Anyway, it was certainly our great pleasure to have spent, the last, the last 10 years with her. Thank you.
Well, Margaret asked me to share this with you. I haven't known Mickey as long as many of you have. I'm Cease Holder, and we're in a small group together. And I came home from church one Sunday afternoon, and she called, and she said, would you come and fix my refrigerator, please? So, well, I've lived in lots of parsonages, and I guess I can try. So I said, sure, I'll come up and see, and we'll see who we need to get in tomorrow to fix the refrigerator. So we got up there, and it was a setup. She had the stuff to fix the refrigerator, and she probably could have done it by herself. But I did it, and then it was getting later along in October. And she said, I need to sit down now. And I asked you up here because I think we have something to discuss. Okay. She said, but before that, how about a gin and tonic? And I said, okay. You should tell me where things are and I'll do it. So she told me where the glasses were. She told me I said, I know where the ice is and I know where the lime is because that flew across the floor earlier that afternoon. She said, but I said, I don't know where the gin and the tonic are. Oh, they're over there. So I got everything out, made the gin and tonics, was ready to go over and sit down beside her and discuss I knew what she wanted to discuss. Where's the pastor here? I was married once, so you get the picture. She wanted to discuss her faith. And she knew that I would listen and that I would understand. But as I went to pick up the glasses, to take them over to the couch, she looked at me and she said, Cease, you were kind of stingy with the gin. So that's Mickey. I will miss her, and I will miss the other discussions we had on the same topic.
I can take the mic over to you. I'll tell a funny story with my grandmother. When my grandmother was still alive, we would, once a year, I would take Grandma on a day trip, overnight trip up to my place in the cities. Because I was living in the cities at the time. We would either go to like a play or a concert or something like that. And one of the plays we went to, we brought, my friend and I took Mickey along with Grandma. And those two together, they're good friends. If they thought of something, they would take off 90 miles an hour across the room, and my friend and I would be running to keep up with them. It's like, no, we gotta go get seated right now. Boom, right into the theater, whether the staff wanted them in now or not. And visiting with everybody and having fun. If they thought of something, let's go do it. Oh, let's go check out the lights. No, let's go over here and check out the lights first and then go over here. Okay, so we did sightseeing, driving too. They were great, fun, spontaneous. They thought of it, we did it. Who wants the mic?
Oh, over.
I have a couple stories about Mickey. First time I met Mickey, she was leading an excursion to the state capitol for a tour. And I had not really moved in that much at that point. I had a unit I was moving into slowly because I hadn't sold my house. So I didn't know people that well at Becketwood. And so I got on the bus and I just followed someone else who was a Becketwood member and sat next to her. And then Mickey caught me at the Capitol and she said, "Are you a Becketwood member?" And I said, yes, I'm new here. And I explained it to her. And she said, well, you never sit in that seat in the front of the bus. Because she said that's for the person leading the excursion. So I thought, okay, I've learned my first unwritten rule from Becketwood. So we became friends, and she took my drawing class that I teach here, or did teach. And she was a very articulate and very technical drawer. She didn't have a lot of freedom to her drawing, which was, I understood the personality, and that's fine. But she became very frustrated because she was wanting to be so careful and so perfect that she couldn't get there. And so she quit coming, and she admitted to me, well, I had to go home and have some aquavit after that. So That was my second good experience, and she and I became good friends, and we learned we both like beer. So I used to take her over to the Waldman Brewery, and we'd have dinner and beers over there. That's it.
Okay. Snacks now?
Time for coffee.
Time for coffee? All right, we'll wrap it up.
And you'll keep this going? Is it the slideshow?
Oh yeah, the slideshow will keep going.
Oh, say that.
Yeah, the slide, Deb goes, is the slideshow going to keep going? I'll just leave it running. You can watch some of the highlights over her travels and experiences over the, I foraged around in a bunch of old videos. We had them scanned. And if you haven't scanned your old 16 and 18 millimeter movies, do it, because they do a fantastic job now. And you'll have them forever. You don't have to worry about trying to set up a projector. So I just put some snippets of stuff up on there. Anyway, let's go eat.